Hello, and welcome back to another episode. Today, I want to share with you my latest piece of art. It is a painting modification, and it's a way of working that I've been experimenting with now for the past couple of years. Going into charity shops, finding, for the most part, fairly old, fairly mass-produced pieces of artwork. This is thinly applied oil on card, or on a board, and it cost £1 in the shop. And going in and finding little discoveries of my own within these landscapes, and they do tend to be landscapes. I think this sort of artwork was produced for things like waiting rooms, hallways, maybe people's living rooms, and designed not to elicit too much of a response. They're background pieces. They give the sense of having art on the wall without really requiring particularly a viewer or certainly requiring us a response. And in that sense, it's quite good fun to go in and find things in the paintings. In some cases, almost rescuing them from themselves. My first experiment with this was a snowy vista, a landscape where in the foreground on the left there was a big tree from behind which I had a tentacle emerging and then going across to a hut in the middle distance. In the background there's a mountain on which I've given the hint of an arcane ritual being performed to draw forth the monster out of the nether realms. And actually in doing that, by applying that tentacle to that landscape, I actually forced the perspective into something that actually made more sense. Previously, the hut on the right was just a bit too, I think, bit too big for where it was in relation to the viewer, the foreground and the background. Whereas the tentacle sort of forces the perspective because you get a sense of how big it is in the foreground and then how quickly it shrinks, as it were, towards the hut. It pushes the hut back a bit and it deepens the painting and actually, as I say, rescues it from itself. And so it's possible to augment these paintings, to find within them a deeper viewing experience, to wrestle them into a more exciting and interesting thing to look at. And this is my latest attempt. Now, I don't just want to show you this painting, I also would like to share with you the process. So to that end, I recorded the whole thing from beginning to end over on the art desk craft area in the living room. And I think I got about an hour and a half of footage. I think it's 1 hour, 38 minutes or thereabouts. And no, I'm not going to show you the whole lot in real time. So at times I'll probably speed up the footage and then at times slow it down so you can see aspects happening. But hopefully you enjoy this. I've not recorded actually a whole making process before. I've just taken photos along the way, and let's see how this goes. I began by looking at the painting and figuring out where I was going to make my first mark. I had a vision of an arm rising out of the ocean, and I actually didn't do it for the first time with pencil on the canvas here, as it were, but rather using a tablet. I drew out a couple of different angles, a couple of different heights, just to get a sense of how the water crashing up interacted with the arm, and then also how I wanted it to come down on the rocks to the side there. So with that in mind, I dived in and it felt good. And the great thing is, of course, the pencil can be erased if it has to be. Next, I started to flesh out the arm with some simple white acrylic paint, a very fine brush actually used for model painting. I often find that my model Games Workshop paint brushes come in very handy for these projects. But I started quite close to the line, and then I bit by bit thickened out the appendage as I saw fit. Crucially, I wanted to get a sense that the hand was grasping at the rocks, pulling the creature forward out of the ocean. At this stage, I'm not mixing any colours really. I'm going for pure raw colours. This is just a purple that I figured would contrast quite nicely with the sky. And it's not the first time I've done a purple limb or tentacle in these paintings. Obviously, that alpine scene is one such purpley tentacle. And at this stage, I'm just feeling my way. I have no real sense of exactly where everything is going to be. I just know that this arm is where I want it to be. Purple and yellow are complementary colours. They're on opposite sides of the colour wheel, and that means that one will make the other seem more intense. Yellow makes purple more purple, purple makes yellow more yellow. And in that sense, often when I was a teenager, I used to paint bananas on purple backgrounds because I loved that simple trick using colours. And it's quite often a fallback colour scheme for so many of my little projects and design work. So purple and yellow definitely is going to stand out on this blue-grey sky. Now to start really figuring out the blood and biology of this creature, and I'm literally going for red to start moving between the purple and the yellow to sort of start bringing together a sense of the fleshiness of this creature. Interestingly, the color scheme differentiating between the top and the bottom of the creature is actually something that really does happen in real life sea creatures. You have I think it's ventral and dorsal color schemes because a creature looks different from above when sunlight is coming down on it than it does from below when it is contrasted against sunlight. And they can see just about a little bit of my head or of my hair popping into frame there. So I'm conscious of this, that real life sea creatures do actually have color differentials from their, as it were, physical top to their physical bottom. And the angle of viewing is important. Well, I don't know to what extent purple and yellow would help in a real life creature, but you get exotic colours, don't you, in fish tanks and the like. And of course, this particular sea monster has green polka dots, lumps and bumps, again contrasting heavily with the pink and yellow. I was in a bold colour mood, I think, when I was hashing out this monster. Next, I was confronted with the question of where else are we going to see this monster? What else of this monster are we going to see rising from the depths of the sea? And I went for another grasping hand. I decided to go for this rock here and try and create a bit of forward motion as though it was clambering forwards towards us, almost out of the painting. And now a little hint of where the body of the monster may be. I only want to be giving an impression as though reflections, refraction, the movement of the water, and also the movement of the beast itself means that you just get a sense that there's a mass in there somewhere. It's a little bit like, I suppose, Ridley Scott's Alien. You know, if you look too closely, if you get to see too much of the monster, it's just a bloke in a rubber suit. Whereas if you can't quite see the monster, it's a little bit more left to the imagination. I decided I wanted to give this creature an eye, something staring at you from beneath the crashing waves. And there's this lovely little pocket implied in the original painting of a wave crashing in and over the rocks and over the breakers. And I thought that was a perfect place just to pop a little eye stalk. The next morning, and you can tell it's morning because the light subtly changes to a slightly warmer glow when I'm painting in the daylight, as opposed to just using daylight lamps at my craft desk. I decided that I wanted to try and tie this thing together a bit more. The contrast for the monster against the blue was working well, but it wasn't quite part of the overall colour scheme of the painting yet. And I figured the best way to do that was to introduce some more complex blues and some greens as well into the mix to sort of make the whole ocean feel like this creature's home, particularly as it's coming towards the land, maybe like a mist rolling off the sea, that kind of thing. This required quite a lot of mixing of different colours. And of course this goes for the froth and the splashing of the water as well, just really fixing the beast in the water. Next, I wanted to hint at some civilization off in the distance, maybe a small fishing village or an outpost of some sort. Regardless, between you and them is this thing coming out of the water. So whether you're hoping for help coming from over there, or you're simply going to rush over there for safety and possibly to share your crazy tale if you survive this encounter, I wanted to hint at something, just to draw your eye to that distant outcrop and hint maybe at the geography. That perhaps this is part of the bay that you're on the other side of, and you've been caught unawares. And we're back to anchoring the scene once more. More greens, more mists, a hint of green in the clouds above, and perhaps a mist gathering across the bay at the base of the landmass that we can see in the distance. All just tying the thing together, bringing it closer and closer to a cohesive scene. Here I'm just adding some little red squigglies coming out of each of the fingers, if we want to call them fingers, feeling around on the rocks. Again, just a little bit of detail that are further connecting this beast to the world in which I've placed it. And a final step, I have to sign my work. Some simple blue will do. Next to the fairly large, but also quite hard to see signature of, I think, Tony or Toby, bottom right. As I say, as far as I can tell, these are mass-produced paintings, so who knows who that is. But now the two artists are together, and the painting is complete. So there we have it. The painting is complete. And I very much enjoyed doing this one. Hopefully you enjoyed watching the process. The next stage is to photograph this, to digitize it, turn it into a print that I can sell on the Etsy store, and of course to store this in an ever-growing collection of paintings, physical artifacts that I may at some point open a store with. Go to a local market or a car boot sale or something, and see how they go down in real life with people. I'm curious. I have no idea. But until then, I have more work to do. Thank you guys for watching. As I say, hopefully you enjoyed this. Until next time, do take care. Bye bye.